Hello, I'm Yuvika Vahi from Rental Scale Up, and I'm talking about Airbnb split stays today. Um, every year, twice a year, Airbnb releases a series of updates and changes to its platform, and its summer 2022 release came out just last week. And although it didn't feature as many changes as we've come to expect from these announcements, the three features that were announced seem to have a lot of elegant tech behind them. And I'm going to focus on one of these three main features, which is called Airbnb split stays. I'm going to give you a quick walkthrough as to what the experience might be for a guest who's booking a split stay, as well as give you a little bit of background on why split stays came to be. Now, let's start with what was the reason for Airbnb announcing split stays. The share of longer term stays in our industry has been increasing for quite some time, and this is very evident in Airbnb's Q1 2022 financial results as well. For example, 21% of Airbnb's gross nights booked in Q1 2022 were made up of longer term stays of 28 nights or above, whereas 44% of all their gross nights booked were made up of stays that were 7 nights or more. So it's quite clear why Airbnb would want to offer what guests are already looking for. Secondly, the problem with offering these longer term stays is that a lot of these stays are being booked in non-urban markets because the demand for non-urban market short-term rental stays has exploded in the past couple of years. And Airbnb does not exactly have unlimited inventory in rural, mountain, or coastal markets. And what this means is if there's a guest looking for, if a guest is looking to stay, for example, in rural Alentejo in Portugal, and they want to stay there for 15 days, and then any host who's not available, whose property is not available for the entire 15 days, will simply not appear in the search results, which limits the inventory that Airbnb can show to its guests. So it allows Airbnb to give more choices to its guests, while also getting its hosts more exposure and increasing the host's reach as well. Let's take a look at what this might look like on the Airbnb website. So here is a search that I created where I'm looking for a stay in Portugal for a whole month between June 1st to 30th for 2 guests. And this is pretty standard. Of course, here are the various categories that Airbnb has recently introduced, which includes national parks, A-frames, tree houses, and just unique stays, which are the USP of the whole Airbnb experience. And I have chosen to stay in national parks for this duration. And while Airbnb is showing me options for stays that are available for the whole duration, as I scroll down, I see here a suggestion for a split stay, and this is what it would look like on the desktop. It says stay in Islas Atlánticas de Galicia and Monfrag, and it tells me the total monthly price, the total monthly cost, and shows the properties which will be included in this stay. And on the map, you can see a little animated arrow connecting the 2 properties, and it splits the dates evenly between the 2 properties. So 15 days in the first one and 15 in the other. And it's always consecutive trips. So your checkout date in stay 1 will also be your check-in date in stay 2. Now, if I click here, let's see. This is the page that I see that shows stay 1 as well as stay 2. And it starts by giving me more information about stay 1, about the host in stay 1, as well as allows me to book the stay within that page. So I get to see the total price and cleaning fees, everything, check-in, check-out date, and I can reserve as a guest my first stay here. As soon as I finish reserving this stay, I will automatically be led to the second stay, which I can also see right here. And I can then go ahead to book the second stay as well. Now, a couple of things to notice here is that while split stay is a combined suggestions, these will still be two separate bookings. These are two separate complementary bookings. So when a guest sees their trips, these will appear as two different and separate consecutive bookings in their account. Why? The reason for that is because each host has their own set of house rules, their own cancellation policies, their own terms. So it doesn't make sense for Airbnb to combine the two into one single booking. And this does mean that the guest needs to communicate separately with each of the hosts about their arrival and departure and for the duration of their stay as well. And what's interesting to see is that while split stays are only limited to 2 consecutive stays, it will be interesting to see how this opens up the way for Airbnb to book entire itineraries, which is the holy grail for OTAs, like all the other OTAs there are. And it seems like Airbnb is working its way up to that, because being able for a guest to be able to book their entire itinerary on one platform is infinitely more convenient. With the introduction of categories, it becomes especially relevant. Split stays become especially relevant because it will allow you to pick one kind of property in one area and then experience another kind of property in that same area. For example, I may want to spend half my time in a tree house and the other half in a villa, depending on what's the diversity of experiences that I want. So that's all I had to share today about split stays. If you have any feedback, if you have any opinion on the feature and your experience on the feature, do leave a comment.